This is Five and Friends. 5 friends, 5 perspectives, all fun. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode, everyone. My name is Zan. Don't ask why, I just put an I. And with me this week is a very special episode is Gossam.
Yo, yo, yo.
Amina.
Hello.
Samra.
Hi.
And welcome back, Sabina.
Hello.
Woo, 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 woo.
Woo! Ah!
Alright, relax. How's it going, everyone? How's life treating you guys?
I got a
It's
new
good.
phone.
Oh?
There is a God. Gossam got a phone.
So if you remember from 2 weeks ago, the podcast, my phone was really bad, was on its last breath. And so, my phone died on Saturday.
You
And
buried it on Sunday.
we buried it on Sunday, and we got the phone on Sunday as well. A new phone. iPhone 8. I'm part of the dark side now.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel great already?
It feels great.
So I was actually just asking Gossam this before when you guys were all getting ready. I was telling him, I was like, so now that you have an iPhone, what do you think of it? And he says it's his best phone, right, Gossam?
It's my best phone. For sure. For sure, my best phone I've ever
All of
had.
a sudden, it's his best phone. Wow. Just wow. All those years that Android has given you countless joys of entertainment, you're going to just blow
Don't
it
No,
off
hate.
it's
with
only
one.
caused me heartache. That's all it's caused me.
No triumphs
hate.
from those heartaches?
No triumphs.
Wow. Well, I guess I'm by myself now. I refuse. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna stay Android.
Sabina, up until recently, was still a BlackBerry fan. Who?
Oh.
Sabina, weren't you like a
No,
BlackBerry
okay,
fan for a
I
while?
have a reason. I have a real career, which is called being a lawyer, which requires me typing long emails, and that requires a keyboard, which is why I love BlackBerry. Having said that, Obama also likes Blackberries because he's also important. So I'm like equivalent to Obama, okay?
That's so true.
I like how because you like something and he likes something.
Just
that
saying,
makes you
he's a
equivalent.
brilliant human being, and that just follows.
I like female education, and Malala does. Am I equivalent to Malala?
Well, if you get shot, God forbid, then you'd be equivalent to Obama.
Lord.
Way to bring it to a different level. Right. Well, if you become president, then Bina, then we'll talk
I'm just
about
saying,
it.
great minds think alike. Obama uses a BlackBerry, and for a
First of
long
all,
time I did. Meanwhile,
I don't think Malala even has a phone.
Malala has.
That's
What?
a lie. She tweets all the time.
How does she not have a
Instagrams.
phone?
Malala is
literally
rich now.
tweets.
Malala is a princess.
Because I feel like
Princess
she
Malala.
doesn't. I mean, yeah, she tweets, but she could like tweet with like.
What is she gonna? She gotta take out her laptop and tweet.
Yeah.
Summer, what day and age is it? Come
I
on.
don't know. I just can't imagine her with a phone.
Well, why? She should forever be Bindu? I'm just trying to understand why Malala can't have a phone.
Because anytime she comes on interviews, she doesn't look like she'd have a phone.
Oh, just
Oh
because she
my
wears
God.
shalvar kameez and puts dupatta on her head, she doesn't have a cell phone. Get out of here.
I mean, in Summer's defense, it's pretty much what you think, right?
You think of her as like having no possessions because she's like a saint.
Yeah, because she's like so simple and, you know, that's, yeah, pretty much. Just a simple person from a simple town.
No, not anymore.
guess
She
not.
lives in London.
She lives in
Well,
London.
we should
I'm
make a
just
movie
reading
about
some of
Malala.
Malala's
Disney.
tweets. I just Googled, and she really does say nice things all the time.
She honestly just tweets amazing things and about amazing.
She says we need
organizations
leaders to invest
constantly.
in girls' education and prove their promises are real.
Wow.
And then she'll be like,
Did you see the tweet of Malala's that like, oh, 4 years ago I wasn't able to have an education, and now I'm in Oxford University. It was a picture
She's like,
of
4
like
years
an
ago, I was
Oxford book.
shot in the face, and now I'm studying at
Her
Oxford
exact
University.
quote
Yeah,
was,
something like
5
that.
years ago, I was shot in an attempt to stop me from speaking out for girls' education. Today, I attend my first lectures at Oxford. That's awesome,
Isn't that
Malala.
crazy?
I would hate to have her in my lecture.
Why?
First of all,
Why?
I follow
You know,
Malala.
Anna, you are like
oh, you-
really obsessed with Malala, though. You have a deep love for Malala.
I do, but I would also. It's like a weird, like deep love, but also like I wouldn't want to be in the same school as her and or around her because it's such an inferiority complex to have. It would be like no matter what you did, you're not gonna be Malala, so why try?
But did you guys hear about the huge like controversy behind Malala and everything?
What?
Like people like she started getting like really bad, like not bad tweets, but like distasteful comments from her tweets and everything, saying that
From Pakistanis who don't like her.
no, because she wore jeans in public, and then a bunch of people,
Oh my God.
a bunch of people in
What?
I
Pakistan,
don't even
A
want to hear this.
trailblazer.
they
Are you kidding me? In Pakistan? Because everyone in Pakistan's now wearing cap sleeves and short sleeves and this and jeans out everywhere, and she's getting shit on for it.
listen. You want to hear actual comments from this? This is one comment. The next Mia Khalifa. How long till the scarf is off too? I was thinking of preaching someone about keeping our cultures of clothes alive when living abroad and giving them an example of Malala, but I think I can't do that now.
Oh,
Oh
God.
my God.
Seriously? First of all, everybody in Pakistan wears jeans now, girls and boys. Second of all, you know, like, seriously, I don't think she's changed anything about herself, including her mustache. So we should embrace Malala's kept it real.
My God.
These are actual comments of people just freaking out of her wearing jeans.
First of all, she's still wearing a dupatta. A scarf.
Yeah, she's still wearing a scarf.
She still
But-
didn't get her eyebrows done. You know, she's still keeping it real. Look, she's like Freda Cola, you know, like she's like the, you know, girls' leader, like, you know, she's paving the way. She's a feminist. She doesn't care about facial hair. She, you know, she's like, embrace me as I am. She's not living up to any standards, but she did wear jeans, so therefore she's terrible.
Did she,
No, the
did she do
working
a TED
class in
Talk?
America wears jeans.
What?
Did she do a TED Talk?
A TED Talk?
No, she did not.
Oh, she hasn't done a TED Talk yet?
You think she has time for
She's
TED
in
Talks?
Oxford. She's got better things
She's
to do.
literally, first of all, she's studying. And second of all, she's building schools when she's not studying.
Yeah.
But she wore jeans though. Come on. It has to be Shalak
my
Amis.
God.
Duh.
I'm pretty sure Malala did do a TED Talk before.
I'm pretty much sure
Either
Malala
way.
can
Look it
do
up,
anything.
Yeah.
And how did we get to Malala? Oh,
No.
because you compared her to
Alright.
Barack
We're gonna have
Obama.
to we're gonna have to cut all of this out. Malala talk.
Cut all of that out.
Cut out Malala.
Start-
cut
let's
out
start from the
Obama. Cut out Blackberries. Let's start over. Click reset.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode, everyone. My name is Let's just start from right now.
So what's today's episode about?
Well, today's episode is about possessions. It's our last week of October, guys.
It's our last
Day before Halloween.
The
for
day
us.
before Halloween. We were recording this on the 30th.
That
So
reminded
it's,
me. Sorry, keep
yeah.
going.
No.
No, what did it remind?
It's
No,
my
there's
friend's.
nothing else to say.
What?
You know what?
You guys, sorry, I lost track. I forgot I was on a recording
It's your friend's birthday tomorrow. Is that what
today.
it is? Or today?
It's Smitty's birthday. Happy birthday, Smitty! I know you don't listen to this podcast, but if you ever do,
Podcast.
Podcast?
podcast.
I love it. Podcast.
Summer was the one who threw shade out of all the people.
Oh, boy.
Doesn't.
Anyway, Smitty would never listen to this. She's way too good for this. So
I'm gonna tell her.
Happy birthday, Smitty.
from the cast of Fob and Friends.
He
minus
actually
one.
is a fob. Unlike you people.
Yeah, Dang.
Man.
Maybe she'll
That was
relate
our
to
first
the...
comment. That was our first comment for our first podcast. You guys aren't even Bob.
That's true. Forgot about that. That was our first criticism.
You
that
know
we got.
what's worse than fobs? Or wannabe fobs.
That was one of our first comments. You're not even fobs.
Summer married a fob.
I did. I did. And I remind him of that every chance I get. About how he couldn't speak English when he first got here.
That's
Wow.
mean.
Best.
That's mean.
Yeah, like, it's actually really mean when you make fun of people's accents.
Jeez.
I know it's coming from Summer, who sounds like she's a Smurfette.
That's Smurfette.
But yeah.
Anyway, possessions. Let's get back to the main point.
Yeah, the point of this episode, the possession episode.
There's tomorrow's Halloween. Wait, question, Bina, what are your kids being for Halloween?
Being a skeleton, very creative, and he really wants to be Spider-Man, but we couldn't find a costume that was his size, so we bought a Minions costume. He's very unhappy about it.
He's gonna look like the cutest little minion on the planet.
Why is he so unhappy about it? I thought he loved Minions.
He doesn't want to be a Minion. He's very against being a Minion. Like, I get it. Who wants to be a Minion?
Not me. So
But Zishan's my husband, bought him a Minion costume, and I said, Shawnee, couldn't you have, like, literally anything would have made him happier than a Minion costume? It's like, it was $9.99. That's why he went with it.
Oh.
Everything else was $39.99.
that's because it's a minion. That's why it was $10.
I thought he wanted to be a dinosaur.
He did, but we kind of talked him out of it. It would have been the second year in a row he was a dinosaur.
Oh.
Poor Reza.
Guys, he, like, literally this is the last year, like, he's 4, where it's going to be cute to dress up. Maybe next year. So if he's going to wear something cute, he should do it now. Otherwise, after this, he's going to want to be a ghost or a skeleton or something.
Ghosts are cute if you just wear a sheet over his head and like eyes cut out. It's cute.
You can't see his
No,
face.
Pretty basic though.
I know, but it's like something okay, maybe it's just.
I would love if they were Mario and Luigi. How cute would that have been? But they won't.
Oh my god, or Mario and Yoshi.
We don't want to work together.
Oh.
Like that little cute boy.
Oh my god, a little
Little
Yoshi. Or Yoshi and an egg.
Mm.
That would be cute. Cute. It's all cute.
If you had a little baby, that baby would be the egg.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, I just wanted to know because none of us are dressing up, so we just need to
No,
know.
I am.
What are you?
I'm gonna go trick or treating.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really?
For sure.
Where are you going to go trick or treating on a Tuesday?
I'm gonna find a street, and I am going to trick or treat. I don't care who comes with me.
He's trick or treating in his dorm party.
No. I really no. I actually want to go trick or treating. I don't know why.
So, what are you gonna be?
So
What are you gonna be?
yeah,
I'm gonna probably be Michael Jackson for another year.
Oh my god, Gotham! You played out that costume.
I did, but it was a good costume, so that's why I play it over all the time.
Oh my god.
I had a costume that I was gonna wear, but
What, a fart?
it didn't. It never.
Zan already looks like a fart.
Exactly.
It's not a costume.
No, I was gonna.
Batman mask, and he looks so feminine in it. So I was like, don't ever wear that again.
Oh yeah, my Batman masquerade mask that I had.
It's not a Batman mask. It's literally a masquerade Venetian Batman.
It's like sparkly and beautiful. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, look at my costume, guys. I was like, yeah, that looks very feminine.
He was.
You also have very feminine hands, so it just doesn't go together.
You you placed it on your face and kept your hand there. And I was like,
Why
what
are
is
your
this?
hands so beautiful and you're a guy? Doesn't make sense.
Why is your hand so beautiful and your face?
Oh, that's roasted.
Boom, roasted.
Roasted.
What are you gonna be? What were you gonna be, Zan? I forgot. A potato.
Yeah, I was gonna be a potato. I was just gonna be a vegetable and just do nothing.
I would love to just be like, I'm a potato.
What's with the accent? Why do you have to do the accent as well?
Someone should be a potato and someone should be a cauliflower. And we should be like aloo bhujia or something.
Aloo bhujia. Do you mean aloo gobi? Aloo bhujia.
Aloo bhujia.
Oh my god. No, I was gonna be okay. So it's gonna be very lame, but it was a last minute decision. I was gonna be John Cena, and I was actually gonna get the T-shirt, the chain, the hat. I was gonna dress up as a white rapper.
Oh my god.
Yeah, who said oh my god? Who hating? Who's hating?
First of all, Zan, are you gonna come out with your wrestling music and your winning belt like you used to?
I was gonna go all out on it, but nothing came in time, so I had to return all my items again.
Wait, are you going somewhere for Halloween?
No. So this was supposed to be for Halloween weekend, like for this past weekend, like on Friday. But then because it didn't come in till like it wasn't gonna come in till later this week for some stupid reason, I had to cancel my order and everything. So
they were like, "Why does he want to be John Cena a week after Halloween?"
Hey, I paid extra $20-$30 for that shipping, for a 2-day shipping, and it was still processing. So it was really annoying. I was like, okay.
I would try to get my money back.
No, I got my money back. Definitely.
Why don't you be Clark Kent? He just needs suspenders and like a Superman shirt
and like glasses.
And glasses. You can be. That's easy.
Easiest.
And it's handsome.
I just feel like I wouldn't buy it.
And it's like a handsome outfit as opposed to your masquerade.
Your masquerade.
We're gonna have to post a picture of that masquerade mask, just
of you in
me in it,
with your hand movements,
with my dainty hands all over it.
Oh, God. They're like ginormous, but still dainty. I don't understand.
It's nice and petite.
Oh no!
Why do you have to say words like dainty and petite? Like
nice
so
and
open.
Petite. Just like he said, he had a sensey mouth.
No.
Oh, Zan, you said you were going to explain your esophagus problem.
But that's not real.
Your esophagus problem.
Oh, poor Zan and his esophagus.
Listen. I'll say the story, but this is not the episode to tell it. We have to get back on topic. Unless this is going to be the topic, because it's a long one. It's a long problem.
Zan had an issue growing
It was
up,
serious at that time, okay?
It was a serious issue. You guys laughing now. Back then, everyone was crying.
Back then, it was serious when he was a baby, but now we just make fun of him because.
But now he milks it and acts like he's still.
He'll be like, I can't eat this, my esophagus, and you'll be like, that's not even a thing anymore.
That was not a thing for the past 20 years now.
Oh my lord.
Ew.
Back to possession.
Sensey mouth.
Yeah. Let's pivot.
Pivot.
Going back
Every time we say pivot, we do that.
Pivot.
Have you explained why we do that?
For those who haven't seen Friends, please Google Friends episode Ross pivot, and you'll know why.
You don't even write Friends episode. Just write Friends Ross pivot. Ross
That's
pivot.
all you need.
It's good enough. All right. So possessions. What are they? What's going on? What's happening?
Well,
do we believe in them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys believe in them? Clearly, one of us believes in it.
I do.
We got a story
I do believe
here.
in it, and I'm scared of it.
I believe in it too. I think
Why
we
do-
all believe in it.
But why do you guys believe it though? It's like, do you?
Because it's in the Quran.
We're not supposed to laugh at that.
Yes.
Cut that out. Cut that out of the podcast then.
It's not that we're laughing that it's in the Quran. It's how he said it. It's,
I don't even think it's in the Quran about possession.
Well, I mean, technically, isn't jinns, like, going back to our previous episode, jinns, like, a possession of some sort?
they can possess. They don't actually need to possess, though.
Okay, but
But it doesn't
that's
say in
what
the
it
Quran
means.
that jinns
That's what
can
I'm trying to talk
possess.
about. If they can possess, that's what it's doing.
Yeah, but the whole point of last week's episode, Gossam, if you were there, was about the fact that
Well, a couple of weeks
a
ago.
couple of weeks ago was the fact that the question is do you believe possession is just from a jinn, or could it be an evil spirit? Because jinns don't. That's the whole thing, is they have the power to possess, but it's questionable
No,
whether or
I
not
believe
it's,
in evil spirits.
it's them actually doing the possessing.
I believe in evil spirits for
Yeah.
sure. For
Me
sure.
too.
I'm a little iffy on it, I guess. I mean, I guess I believe it. Technically, I should believe it, but yeah, I want to see it happen. And going back to my thing, I just want to see it happen, and then I'll believe
I
it.
never want to see it happen. Are you nutso?
I want to see something being possessed. But it's actually funny though, because I found an article online. It shows the symptoms of demonic possession, and this is like some of the things that you can see. Hold on, I want to get the source of this. It's like some
source.
two nuns from like the 1700s. Like they had this like whole like witch trial / possession case that happened back in the day, and like these two nuns kind of sat down and wrote down the symptoms of demonic possession. So here they are. Okay, number 1, to think oneself is possessed. So I guess that means
Alright.
I guess it's like if you think you're possessed, right? To lead a wicked life.
Okay.
Okay, like I guess that's pretty
Okay, keep on
self-explanatory.
going.
To live outside the rules of society, makes sense. To be persistently ill, falling into heavy sleep and vomiting unusual objects, either such natural objects as toads, serpents, maggots, blah blah blah. Like I guess they're just trying to say if you vomit up like random stuff.
We
like,
get it. We get that. Yeah.
4 is it 1, 2, 3, 5 to utter obscenities and blasphemies, makes sense. 6 to be troubled with spirits, okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. To show a frightening and horrible countenance, I don't know what that means. What does countenance mean?
Are you saying it correctly?
Countenance, yeah, well it says here a person's
I
face or
thought,
facial
I thought
expression.
continence had to do with like bowel movements.
Like poop.
Yeah, like
Incontinence, like
incontinence. Yeah.
But that's not countenance.
No, it says here it's a person's face or facial expression, so I guess it's like to show a frightening and horrible face.
Okay.
Okay, this is all right. To be tired of living, to be uncontrollable and violent, to make sounds and movements like an animal, to deny knowledge of fits after the paroxysm has ended, to show fear of sacred relics and sacraments, to curse violently at any prayer, and finally to exhibit acts of lewd exposure of abnormal strength. Blah. I guess that's all pretty much self-explanatory, but I just thought it was kind of
seem
cool.
a little weird, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is like the 1600s. These are just, like I said, two nuns who wrote this.
Probably
and that's
during the Salem witch trials or something like that.
something like that, yeah. But like it's like you can check all of those off in like every other possession demonic movie you can think of. Like I think of Exorcist, and then like all of that is exactly
No,
what
but
that
she
is.
wasn't puking out maggots.
I mean, she was.
I guess
puking.
not, but she was puking bile though, like whatever that was.
Well,
She was speaking pea soup. No, when I think a good movie that like kind of like shows like the logical. Sabina and I were talking about this, the logical side, to where it's kind of scarier almost, was like The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
well, is that the one with the lawyer and all that
Yes.
stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one actually is kind of creepy. Remember when
Because
she's like scratching the
She
floors?
was really, really, really sick. You know what I mean? Like she was just really sick, and people think that she's possessed.
No, she
Well,
was.
that's the whole thing of the movie. Is that was she or was she mentally ill?
Or like schizophrenic
Yeah.
or something.
Epileptic. Yeah.
schizophrenic.
So
But she was normal beforehand.
That's the
That's the thing.
Yeah, but schizophrenia is an onset. It comes into your young adulthood.
and you can get seizures.
I don't know.
You're not born with I mean, you have the gene, but you're not, you don't exhibit signs of schizophrenia until your youngest, like 20, like 18, 19, 20.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the thing that's really interesting is when you have these severe possession cases, it's not so much. It's what I always find very crazy is the ability to speak different languages.
Yes.
And so, like that's something where, it's something so embedded deep in your mind. Like, how does that sort of odd behavior manifest itself?
The brain is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even really know how, like, what we retain into our long-term memory and how we unlock it. And like some people believe that it's not possible and that's why it's possession, but neuropsychologists believe that it is possible to unlock those things that are hidden deep. You overhear, in the movie she had like lessons in Latin when she was a kid, right? Or she overheard it. But doesn't she speak like 7 languages in that movie? She speaks like German at one point.
She was speaking a lot though. That's the thing in the exorcism portion when she passed away. Wasn't she speaking in like some type of satanic
She had like
language?
7. She said she had 7 like demons in her, and each demon spoke different languages.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. All I know is the freakiest part in that movie was when she's eating the bugs.
Well, I'm sorry.
That
That
was
was by far, I think. I mean, The Exorcist was very scary because that's kind of the first movie that introduced that concept. But for me, The Exorcism of Emily Rhodes is the scariest movie because it's that, it artfully kind of goes into the scientific reasons behind possession. Because when she was very doped up, she was just kind of sleeping and kind of out of it, So was she, it kind of goes back to the fact, was it, just severe rewiring of the brain?
Right.
Yeah, because like I'm reading here, it says like so the girl's name was Annalise Michael, and I was actually talking about Gossip with this just like before this, and it says she was 16. She experienced a seizure and diagnosed with psychosis called temporal lobe epilepsy. She also had depression. Let's see
So
here.
temporal lobe is your hearing though, isn't it?
No, it's yes, but it's also your
language.
temporal. I mean, yeah, but it's also a lot of things. Like it's not just hearing and stuff. It's a lot of connections that are made in and out.
Right.
Like it has a lot of pathways. So if any part of the brain, if you affect, it's gonna affect all parts of the brain. You know what I'm trying to say? Because it's all a connected network.
But sorry, go.
I mean, that goes back to the language, right? It affected her probably also affected her language centers, and it unlocked languages that she
That's true.
remembered.
Because that's what I'm saying. Because temporal lobe is associated with your language and smell, and your hearing. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, basically like she suffered severe convulsions and was diagnosed with the temporal lobe epilepsy. She was constantly getting seizures. She was prescribed drugs that was like out of this world. Just trying to sum it up, it's like she was
prescribed lots of different things. She was
Hello? Huh?
We all cut out. That was pretty scary.
We're talking about scary stuff.
Jin Baba.
Literally, we all just went silent.
As I was talking about Annalise Michael, oh my god.
No, really.
It wasn't that.
Great. This is a great topic
It was
to talk
creepy
about.
because when I was in that podcast, remember when I said I heard something fall down? It was a pot in my kitchen that fell down. How? I don't know.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep. Well, when you talk about things, in that movie, it does a really good job too of showing like when you start opening yourself up to these things, you start to feel like things are happening. Right? Like, she starts waking up at 3 a.m. and, you know, she thinks she sees something there, or she thought she left a glass here and it's not there. I don't know.
How much of that, though, was because of all the drugs and the medicine that she was taking?
No. I'm talking about the lawyer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the lawyer, gets some weird things happening.
No, but wasn't like she found, what was the end case for that? I forget.
The priest was found guilty. In the movie, it's like he had time served, though. So, I mean, I feel like Sabina should say it because Sabina's the attorney. She should talk about it, but what time served is. But basically, he's guilty, but his judgment is that he already spent all the time that he was supposed to serve already, because he was in jail the whole time of the case, like the whole trial.
Right. Okay.
So he got out, basically. But I don't think that's what happened in real life. I think they had like an extra 6 months or something like that.
And they were...
Her mom and her dad were tried as well.
They were found guilty of manslaughter resulting of negligence and were sentenced to 6 months in jail. Is that right? And then 3 years of probation? That sounds like way too light of a sentence.
Well, they really believed that she was possessed.
Oh, I like how Wikipedia said the very next sentence was, it was a far lighter sentence than anticipated, but it was more than requested by the prosecution, who had asked that the priest only be fined and that their parents to be found guilty and not punished because of the church. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't hear that last part. What happened to the priest?
He was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 6 months and 3 years probation.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, is that he was, at the end of the movie, he was found guilty too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just interesting if that was a very accurate, the movie, or was it like completely exaggerated, or should the priest have done more?
I definitely think the last scene was definitely dramatic, because, her in the barn and everything. But if you hear recordings, you can listen to recordings of her, supposedly when she's possessed in real life, like the real girl, Annalise. And it sounds like her. I mean, it sounds like her if you put on a voice, right?
Yeah,
I've never heard
the
it.
recordings.
Like The Exorcist, where it's like a different voice.
It does. I agree with you, Amna. It does sound like she's putting on a voice, but I don't know. I have no clue what to believe.
Well, what's really interesting is that my dad had actually sat through a possession when he was young, when people were actually, doing a possession. And he always said, an exorcism, sorry, while a young girl was possessed. And he always said that he felt like the girl was making it up. Like, he never was scared or believed it for a second. He felt like she had made it up and she was doing this for attention. Right. So it's very interesting, like, that the girl also changed voices and screamed and yelled and swore and acted, very violent. But he said he felt like she was doing that purposely, and it kind of, think of the Salem witch trials, right? Like, that's basically what they were claiming, right? That they were cursed and witches had put a spell on them. So, emulating possession, basically, a different type of possession, but possession. And it was mass hysteria. So one girl, started copying the next girl, and the next girl started copying the next girl. So, and it was just hysteria and girls kind of acting out and kind of their imaginations getting the best of them. So,
Do you know that's a real disease? They've documented it in history that, like, you can catch on to this mass hysteria. It's like psycho mass something, I forgot, but it's like, that story of those nuns who danced to death?
No.
Like, it's like in the 1700s, like some war ended or something happened, and these nuns started dancing, and then it's like they got caught up in this mass hysteria. It's like a psycho. It has to do with how your brain interprets certain information, and they all literally danced until they died. Like, they didn't stop. It's a real documented case. It really happened.
I found
and
it. I found it. It's
Yeah.
the Danson Plague of 1518. It was a case of Danson mania that occurred in it's basically a part of the Roman Empire in the 1500s. Around 400 people took to Danson for days without rest, and over the period of about a month, some of those affected died of heart attack, stroke, or exhaustion.
Yeah, and but there's a documented case of that recently, where people they just get sucked into this mass, and they seem like they're ill or this.
Wasn't
or this
it
or
like
that,
about all those girls getting pregnant? Wasn't something like all these teenage girls in one town all started getting pregnant, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a cult, but it could have been mass hysteria as well. I mean, I don't know. These are real things. It's kind of it sounds like it's a horror movie, but these are real, psychological issues that happen or phenomena that happen. And it's then is it supernatural or is it just stuff that we haven't learned about yet?
Right.
I don't know, but that's freaky.
So, yeah, anyway, that's my fun fact about Salem. Because the girls were all young. They didn't have the concept of... They weren't like Winona Ryder in The Crucible where they're 18, 19. They were 9, 10.
Oh, well, I thought in The Crucible they were young. Abigail and all of them.
Winona Ryder in that movie was 16, 17, right? The oldest person who testified, I think, was 17, but she was the only one.
I don't know.
All the other girls were
book
12
in a
and
while.
younger. No, in real life, I'm talking about, not in the movie.
Oh, okay. No, I thought you were talking about the book, The Crucible.
Oh no.
I must say about the Salem witch trial is that not recently, it was a few years ago, I went to Salem, Massachusetts for Halloween. And I do have to say that even though the town itself during Halloween is very much commercialized and, mainstream, they have all these rides and it's very much a tourist attraction, you can still do the tour around the what do you call it, the graveyard and the areas where they were hung. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a weird feeling when you were standing there because you just knew that there was people. They actually have all of the stones still placed exactly how it was, and you can see it and you can definitely feel something. There's a weird that stereotypical the cool breeze and you feel this weird thing in your heart that your heart starts racing. And I definitely felt that for a few seconds when you were around there just walking. It's strange.
Yeah, or is it also because you're at the Salem witch trials and that that's how people feel?
That's true.
So
maybe it's just that knowing
that
that
as well.
Yeah, probably. Maybe knowing that this is where the spot that all these girls died. Maybe that's what I was feeling, But I don't know. It was definitely weird.
Yeah. I mean...
So, steering back, we have Sabina here because we have this story. She has a story that she told us, and it's taken on a life of its own because of me.
And we've teased the story many times in this podcast as well.
And I've told it, and I've had friends who told their friends.
Same, I've told friends as well.
And it's been, obviously, I've admitted it to people. I've told them, I'm making this more dramatic than it is. But it's almost like when Sabina, when you tell it maybe it's not as dramatic, but it's your story, and it just makes it so much scarier because it happened. And
take us through the night.
Well, I guess the reason it's scary is because I'm not somebody who makes up things, or I'm not a hysterical person. I'm very logical to a fault. I can kind of compartmentalize my feelings. I'm not, I'm bubbly, but not somebody that would just seek attention or had any reason to seek attention. So when I was about 19 years old, 18 or 19, I don't really remember because it's been a very long time, I was working during the summer as a receptionist for a company, and the vice president of the company, who was the owner's son, asked me if I could babysit a couple's twins while they're going to be in town. And they had two little boy twins, and that they would pay me quite handsomely. And at that time, when you're 18, 19 years old, maybe I was maybe even a little older. Maybe I was 20 years old. But I was still in college. And so it was $20 an hour, and they had asked for me to bring a friend. So I had brought my friend. Her name is Jackie. I won't say her last name because I didn't ask permission to tell the story. So that's right, guys. I have to carve out legal issues. And so, and so, I was a young kid, and similar to Gossam's age, right? So I was like, yeah, $20 an hour for 4 hours. That's $80. I'm there, right? So I told my friend, it was summer vacation, great way to make money. We went to the house. Now, when we're driving to the house was one of those houses. It had a very long driveway. I'm not sure if you've ever been to one of those houses, but it's, you have to actually drive quite a bit through with trees lined to get to the house. So it wasn't something where, I wouldn't say it's a mile or anything, but it certainly wasn't, you couldn't see the road when you got to the house. That's how far it was. So it wasn't like this natural thing. And the road that the house was off of was really small as well. And I don't even remember the town. I think maybe it had been Newtown or, somewhere else. I really don't even remember it because so much of that night I've blocked out, leading up until that point. And it's funny, I don't remember many of the details around who I was babysitting for, the name of the people, how the kids were about 4 or 5 months old. So I remember that, what the kids really looked like. But I can tell you from the minute I walked into that house to the minute I left the house and got home, I can recall every single detail very clearly. And, if you guys have ever listened to other podcasts and you talk about the Anand Sami podcast, you realize that if you try to recall something that happened 4 weeks ago, you can't remember unless, a very vivid memory comes to light. And so this, so everything leading up to that point is in a vivid memory. But what happened there is vivid. And I almost would believe that it didn't happen except for the fact that I had a friend with me. And she doesn't even like to talk about that night or never really has told the story again. She says she can't. Like, it was too much for her to handle. So she just cops it out to a bad night and just doesn't talk about it. And so I pull up to a house. The house is one of those houses that look very small from the outside, and it's actually quite large. So you walk in, and it's one of those fun houses where it's very low ceilings because it was probably built in the 1900s. And it's funny. I can tell you exactly, if I close my eyes right now, I can tell you exactly which room we stayed in the majority of the night. I can tell you exactly where the kitchen was placed. I can tell you exactly where the hallway was. I mean, I could sketch out the house for you, but from the front door to the back door, so if you walk towards the front and you walk towards the back of the house, the back of the house had a pool. And it was really nice. I mean, the outside of the house was beautiful. And so I know we don't have that much time, so I'll try to hurry this along. And
Good.
so,
Don't worry. No, we have enough time. Don't worry about it.
so we got to the house, and the people were lovely, and they said they'd be back by, we got there around 7. We probably left around close to midnight, and they had said they'd be back at 10. So we were really expecting them back within 3 hours, and the night just went longer than we had both planned. Now, to kind of give you some background, I had eaten, but I didn't have a huge dinner. So I was slightly hungry by the time 10 o'clock came along. And I'm telling you all this because, it kind of wraps things up at the end where, I can add pieces of my night together, even though they were really scary. So we started, the kids were great. They were beautiful little boys. And we took them outside. And when we arrived there, it was 7 o'clock in the summer. So it's kind of, sun is setting, but not quite set yet. So it was sunny when we got there, right? Very sunny when we got there. And then slowly by, 9 o'clock, it became dark. And we couldn't bring the kids in the house. So the boys, there was a pool outside. And what would happen is, they're little babies, right? But when we were in the house, they wouldn't stop crying. And, we were both really young. And this is the first time I had actually been babysitting like little babies for that extended period of time. That wasn't family, and actually in general, just a very long time. And so when we walked out of the house, the babies were happy, and maybe it's just because we were outside, but they were happy and full of life. And then when we would walk back in the house, the babies would cry nonstop. So we basically just kept going outside until the babies fell asleep, and by that time it was dark at night. So we brought the little babies back inside the house, and there was this room in the house, and it was really like a pleasant kind of room. It was small, but like it almost felt like a den, or it was a den, and it was really warm and inviting. And there was a TV, and it actually felt like a very happy part of the house. And the rest of the house didn't feel that way, and it's kind of hard to describe that feeling. And maybe it's because we're young, and maybe because the walls are, it's a house where the rooms are really small, and the ceilings were a little lower, at least for the upstairs part of the house. And so, so right before it got dark, right, I would say it's dusk, when there was still light in the house, but it was that kind of bright light that comes into the house. On one side of the house, the other side, the sun was setting. And so we just started, my friend that was with me was actually really brave, so she wanted to go check out the house. But by that time, I was already kind of freaked out. I just had this feeling, and I couldn't explain it. Like I said, I was maybe young, so I didn't want to go anywhere in the house. And so she was like, no, let's go. So we started walking in the house, and we opened a door, not expecting to see very much, and it kept leading to other smaller rooms, like a study, a living room. And when we opened the door to the living room, it was actually kind of overwhelming, because they had old Victorian furniture in the room, and there was a painting on the wall, and it was a very large painting, probably. And like I said, I was young then, so maybe the size is bigger than I imagined it, but it was very large, maybe like 8 feet by 6 feet, like something very large. And the painting was just black. There was no figure, there was no face. It was just like a black oil painting, and that was kind of enough for me, because that was overwhelming to look at such a dark painting in the middle of the room. And like, when I think back, maybe it went with a decor, like a dark painting, but there wasn't really a face, or it was very weird and unlike anything I've ever really seen in like a house. So
but that's not normal.
I mean, it's definitely not normal, but maybe that's like the style, like it's a period piece. I have no idea, but it is scary. There was a certain, it's overwhelming to walk into and look at like a huge dark painting. And if there was anything in that painting, it was not enough that I can remember. I just remember walking in this huge, dark, really freaky painting. And so then when we walked to the next room, there was actually a hallway that led to a staircase. So, they had a staircase in the middle of the house, kind of like a center hall colonial. And then they had a staircase in the back behind the kitchen where you could also go upstairs. So front stair. And a lot of older houses had that, right? You had a front staircase and a back staircase. And so it was very strange. So by this time, the sun had really started to set. But when we got to the bottom of the stairs, at the top of the stairs, it was extremely bright. Not kind of like a sunset bright, like a piercing bright, which could have just been the right angle of the sun. There could have been a mirror up there. And, I looked up at the top of the stairs, and it was a bright, bright light. And I was like, dude, I'm not going up there. And my friend was like, come on. I was like, there's no way. I'm not going. So we didn't go that way. We turned back around and went up the other way to the staircase. And there were some smaller rooms, and the ceilings were really low, but they didn't particularly stick out to me, nor do I remember. But the staircase sticks out to me because I was already so scared of seeing the painting. I couldn't. When I looked up the staircase and it was really bright, I was like, there's just no way I'm walking up this narrow stair. Who knows what's up there? I'm not going up that way. So we came back around, and, the babies were sleeping, and we kind of stayed in the room. And, by this time we were kind of getting hungry because we thought we'd be gone by 10. So we kind of went in the kitchen, grabbed some water, I was pretty hungry, obviously, by then. There wasn't really any snacks or anything. So we came back to the room and we just waited. And, eventually they came home. And so I had asked, and during this time, we heard like rumbling sounds, almost like rough sounds that were just like something was upstairs and something was falling, kind of like rumbling sounds. And so, that also obviously between the black painting and the staircase and the fact that I was hungry and the rumbling sounds, by this point I was scared, right? Like I just wanted to get out of there. I didn't feel good. My head started to hurt. I just wanted to get out of there. And so by 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, but it was late, right? Like it wasn't the time that we expected. It was like an hour or 2 hours later. They came home and they paid us. And I had just asked, I said, did somebody die in this house recently? And they said, yeah, our brother had died in this house and he had died of cancer. And I said, oh, okay. All right, no big deal.
Right.
So, and I said also, like, we also heard some sounds. Like, is there something around the area? They said, oh, well, we have stables. We have horse stables. Okay, I didn't see any stables while I was walking around the pool, but I believed them that whatever I was hearing was the sound of horse hooves, slamming up again in the stables, and that was what was rumbling through the house. It's very possible, but it was just another thing where I was like, okay, between somebody dying, everything, I was very scared by this time. So we pull out of the driveway. Of course, it's, I told you it's a long driveway. It's like dark, dark, dark. So we pull out, I take a right out of the driveway, and I start driving down, and I turn to my friend and I say, that house really scared me. And we didn't actually mention the fact that we were both scared until we got out of that house. Like we almost felt like, oh, thank God I'm out of there. Like it was a kind of, we felt like we could breathe again. And at that moment that I said, that really scared me. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, and I couldn't stop. That statue did you see that statue? It kept staring at us. And she's like, I know, the statue kept staring at us. And in the middle of the hallway was a bookshelf. And on top of that bookshelf was a statue, a very tiny statue. It couldn't have been more than like 6 to 8 inches, maybe like maximum a foot tall, like a very tall and very skinny statue. And it was like a cowboy or something like that. It was like an iron statue, but it wasn't particularly scary. So I can't say, oh, it was like freaky or it was like a mask. It was just like this weird, and it was like by itself on top of the shelf. And as soon as I said that, I looked forward and there was a car, and it was a small road and, the burbs. There was a car coming right at me. Like literally we were going to hit each other head on. And so I swerved, and the car hit the side of my car, like where my front headlight was on the left-hand side where I was driving. And my car actually turned in the middle of the road. So it turned all the way 180, like, so you crash, hit, turn. And the car drove away. So nobody stopped. They just kept going. So they hit us and drove off. So it was a hit and run. And it was like a green bug, right? Like it was like a dark green bug. And it might have been black, but whatever I remember is I remember the car stopped. I turned and looked at it. And it was, because my headlight, because I remember I turned all the way around. So now I was facing the other way in the road. And the car drove off. But it was too fast, and we were too shocked to get a license plate. So then we, turned around immediately. The car was still running, and we drove to the nearest gas station. And my husband now is the first person I called because my parents were gone that night. They were at a mushaira, which is like a Desi poetry reading thing. And so I was alone. And so that was also really scary. And when I went to the gas station, I'm crying because I'm like, I'm going to get in so much trouble. I got into a car accident. My parents are going to kill me. But when I got out of the car at the gas station, And I went to go use a payphone. This is not when everybody readily had cell phones, so I was using a payphone to try to get in touch. And there's nothing wrong with the car, right? So the headlight wasn't broken, the bumper wasn't broken. The only thing that was wrong with the car was there was like a black mark on the side from the fender all the way to the front door on the left-hand side. But it was like a black streak that you could almost wipe off. But there was no dent, and that car hit me, and my entire car turned around. So at the very least, there should have been a dent in the car. There wasn't. And I swerved to the right, but yet my car turned around to the left. So whatever the impact was, even though I was trying to swerve, it was strong enough to turn my car all the way the other way. And there was no damage. And like I said, there was obviously a witness. I'd called my husband that night to tell him that I damaged the car, that I was so upset that my parents were going to kill me. I look at the car, there's no damage. I couldn't have been happier because I thought, thank God I didn't, get damaged. But at the same time, I was really scared, and my head had just started to hurt so much. I could not take it anymore. I don't know how, and now that I'm thinking back, I was driving on Route 25, so it couldn't have been on Newtown. But I don't know how I got home because I had such a bad headache that I honestly, I couldn't barely drive. I couldn't see anymore. My eyes were fluttering. My head was pounding. And I finally
Why didn't you just let Jackie drive?
Because I had already been mid-driving, and she kept asking me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. We were in the middle of the highway. It's like, I'm fine, like, I'm going to be okay. We somehow got home. By this time, it's like 1 a.m. And the minute I get home, I said, Jackie, like, I need you to go home. And she's like, oh, I can't leave you. I said, no, I need you to go home. I need you to call your mom and get out of here. And she was like, okay. So she called her mom, and her mom came to pick her up. But in between, her house was only 10 minutes away. So between her mom came, she was talking to me, and I kind of remember, like, my eyes now had rolled back in the back of my head, and I had such a bad headache that I was having some sort of seizure. And I fell asleep while I was talking to her right at the table. And, I couldn't hold a sentence. And, at some point, I woke up in my room or on the couch. I don't remember if it was my room or my couch, but at some point I had moved, but she was not there. And then my parents came home. Like, back in the day, they would go out to these things and not come home till 3 or 4 in the morning. And when they came home is when I, woke up, and, my headache had, gotten, it was either gone or dramatically better by that point. But so, either it was a severe migraine, but it wasn't I've had really bad migraines where I throw up, and it was that painful, but yet, the difference between that headache and any headache I've ever had is that my eyes, like, while I was talking to her, I could feel them. They were no longer up front. I felt like my eyes had rolled back. If you've ever been so tired where your eyes are kind of fluttering, it was like
Right.
that, except I was telling her to go home. And so, if you imagine her, she's staring at a girl who's talking to her where only the whites of her eyes are showing. So she was also really scared, and she wanted to get the hell out of there, but she also was trying to be a good friend. And so that was the end of the night. And, I look back, and I think, it was either a seizure, or I got so scared because of the trauma of the accident. Like, it was me. I didn't actually hit my head or anything, and I didn't have whiplash, but just the trauma of that. But it happened to be the exact moment. And all of those things I can find an explanation. The only thing I cannot find an explanation for in that night is how I was hit head on, and I didn't have any damage. I mean, or the damage that did exist, scientifically, I'm not sure how a black mark along the side of my car would have created such a dramatic, my car would have spun around. There was a huge, we hit each other. And, like I said, if I was alone, I would think I was crazy. I just made that up. But I wasn't alone. And the person I was with was, she doesn't talk about it. Like, she doesn't tell the story I'm telling you this story for the first time publicly. This is a private story in our family. It's not like I had any reason to make it up or want people to tell my story, or I think people quite enjoy it, but for me it was very scary. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, because it leaves you in a very big state of confusion where, I can say there's no such thing as ghosts, or I don't believe in possession, but what I do know is what they say, like what real possession is, or when you really come in contact with a spirit, for people that really believe in spirits, is that they say that it drains your energy and it basically takes energy away from you. Like you get headaches, you go through seizures, you fall asleep. It basically feels like the life of you has been taken out of you. And between the time I got into the place and the time I left, I felt very, very plagued. And so, if you do believe in that, then, this is a very good ghost story. And if you don't believe in that, then it's a young girl who's very, who didn't eat enough, who got into a car accident, who was lucky enough not to get hit, and caused severe damage other than a little scrape along the, well, it wasn't even really a scrape, a black mark around the side. And it was 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, so it was late enough for me to not feel good. And so, for me, as an adult, I struggle with this, but when it happened to me, I was 100% convinced something was wrong, or something was wrong with that house, and something had happened to me that night. Now, time goes on, this is many, many, many years later, I struggle with, what's actually logical and rational and what happened.
Right.
And, I can't explain it. The accident part really, really gets me, because every time I can explain every part of what happened that night, I just don't understand how I got hit head on and there was no damage.
But don't you think it's weird that both you and Jackie also felt uncomfortable by that statue, and you didn't talk about it with her?
We didn't talk about anything scary in that house because...
But you both thought that statue was staring at you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's weird. Like, that doesn't happen often, where you're both like, yeah, that specifically.
Like it's a 6-inch statue,
So why is that such an imposing presence?
But both you and Jackie did feel that presence, though, right? From that statue?
We felt like something was wrong with it. Like,
wrong with it.
It was looking at us. It was like it followed us. If we move to the left or move to the right, and it sounds really silly, but have you ever looked at a painting and you like the Mona Lisa? They say no matter where you stand, she stares at you. It was however it was obviously a very special statue, right? Like nobody puts like cowboy statues on top of a shelf. Cowboy-like statues on top of a shelf, especially something so little. So it must have been like an heirloom, or something actually carved, or something was connected. But it felt like it followed us.
Right.
Wherever we moved, it was following.
Well, I mean, I've been in an accident before, and my car has spun around, and it was a light hit. Even then, the car had kind of severe damage for both of our cars. So I'm surprised that your car was basically hit head on, and your car also spun, just like my car, but you guys didn't have any damage whatsoever.
And that's the thing. Even if it was a slight dent, you're like, okay, but the impact wasn't a slight dent impact. My bumper, my fender, and my door should have been completely crushed.
Yep. That's what happened with my car.
Maybe not the airbags would have went out. Maybe it wasn't that hard because I had seen the car, I had braked, I had swerved. Maybe I was at that point going 10 or 15 miles per hour, but I still don't understand why there was no damage. I don't. I mean, it was so unnoticeable that when I wiped off all the black, right, like with a pad to wipe it off, you would not have been able to tell I was ever hit. And you can open the door and close the door. There was like no issues with the door. If the fender had buckled, it would have affected the door opening and closing. There was no issues.
Right.
Maybe there was some sort of internal damage. I couldn't see it.
But also, if there were, I was gonna say, if there was internal
I mean, you would have known.
damage, you would have known later on while driving the car, like some sort of light,
Later on.
something would have shown in your car that would have been like, hey, you have some issue in your engine.
Yeah, I mean, it was very scary. I thought at that point we were gonna hit, and that was it. Like I felt like I was gonna die.
But do you said that as an adult, like you have kind of maybe not drifted away, but you can look at it more logically and more, objectively at the situation. But, a lot of stuff has been, I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but a lot of things have been kind of come up in the past year that aren't logical anymore. Does that shift your, like, experiences that you've experienced in this past year? Does that shift your, like, view on what happened that night? Do you maybe think that maybe something did happen? I don't,
I don't know. I don't know. I think as I get older, less and less I believe something happened. But like I said, when I think about it, obviously when you go through some sort of trauma, right, no matter what it is, for me that was traumatic, right? The longer time goes on, the less traumatic it becomes, right? But I mean, it's still. I mean, it was the scariest thing I've ever been through in terms of something out of my control, or I couldn't control, or something with like outer worldly experiences.
Right.
And I can't. Yeah, I mean, I've never had anything like that happen to me again, but I haven't been in a
like
situation like that again.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to say is you've had spotted moments this past 2 years or so that weird things have happened. Things that you can't explain.
But it's one
Does
thing,
that kind-
but there's one thing when weird things happen that you can't explain, and there's one thing where something happens to you physically, right? I was
Right.
physically in an accident. I was physically in pain. I was physically going through some sort of seizure, right? Like so that nothing like that has ever happened to me ever since that one day, ever before or ever after, which also obviously always brings me to this point of why did that happen to me that day? Why only then? Like if I was somebody that suffered from seizures, I would have had another one. If I was somebody who, weird things happen to people, like something will fall or something will this, and those things are kind of freaky, but you're like, whatever. This isn't the realm of something normal that happened. And, but for the fact that there was somebody there with me that night who nothing happened to them, right? So just a witness of everything that happened.
Someone who can corroborate what you went through, though.
Yeah, basically. And like I said, it's not a good feeling. Thinking back on it, it's not a good feeling that happened. It's very strange. And then, when you tell a parent or something, they tell you you're crazy and you've lost your mind. And you think, yeah, for that night, I must have been crazy. I must have lost my mind that night.
Well,
And you felt like a malicious feeling in that house. It wasn't like odd, off. It was bad? Or was it just off?
No, scary. It wasn't bad. It wasn't off. It was scary. Like the house scared me. The painting scared me. I wouldn't walk up the... have you ever been in a house where you hear something and you're like in your room and you're like, I'm not moving? That feeling where you're like, I'm not moving. That's it. That's how I felt in the whole house. I felt scared, except in that one room. That one room was actually pretty comforting and nice. But it was a very small room. It was like a small den. And the house was very big. I almost felt like it was a safe place. I don't know how to explain it.
It was like protected.
well, there you have it, folks.
I have a question on that. I thought it
Summer,
was
you're so quiet.
I thought during your night while you were babysitting. Now I don't know. This is what I thought Amna once said. But that that's why I
don't
want to
listen to me.
clarify that. That while you were babysitting, you saw like a car come up the driveway and then turn around and like go, but it happened like twice.
I thought you saw someone. I might have mixed up stories, but I thought you saw headlights coming up the driveway at one point, and you thought you saw someone coming, but it wasn't.
I mean, look, I don't remember. It's very possible, but one thing I can tell you is that we heard a lot of noises that were told that they were horses in the stable. Didn't sound like horses in
and
a
you also
stable.
didn't see it.
And a car may have come up the driveway. It may very well have come up the driveway, but that's less scary, right? A car comes up the driveway and drives away because they took a wrong turn. But the noises in the house were like, I kind of hate to say this out loud because it sounds so weird, but you know in The Exorcist where she hears those noises upstairs?
Thumps.
Yeah, that's what it sounded
The
like.
bed shaking up and down.
No, like in the beginning where they're like, oh, it's rats.
Right.
Like in the way beginning where the mom would look up and she would feel like there's rats or something. Like that's
and then
kind
she
of
goes in the attic or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it sounds really strange because I'm saying that because it sounds like a crazy person, but that's the type of sounds which you could
It
say.
was scurrying movement.
No,
It wasn't like louder, deeper movement.
Like it didn't sound like pipes moving or
No, it sounded like
floorboards moving.
something falling.
But like a lot.
Something would fall.
Things constantly falling at sporadic
Like
moments.
it could have been hooves, like right, like hooves. Like if you do like tap 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, like that. Like it could actually have been horse hooves, like right, like that's a logical explanation, but it didn't sound to the right of
I was
us.
gonna
It
say,
sounded
because
above
then
us.
why would the horse stables be above you?
It wouldn't.
Or like,
But I mean, maybe
the
sound
wouldn't
echoes.
travel like that.
Or maybe it did travel. Like maybe there's a completely logical explanation, which is what I'm trying to say is that
Placement.
there was sounds. And, you know, I have heard, you know, me and Shawnee recently heard sounds very similar to that in the house before we got it renovated, the house that we live in, which I've never ever felt an experience like that since we've gotten it renovated. But, you know, you do go through weird things, but then you're like, okay, whatever, it's a weird day. That wasn't one weird event, right? So it was a series of extremely weird events for 5 hours.
Right, and plus you didn't see any stables.
I didn't see anything, but I mean, they said they have them, so I believe them.
But then those
Yeah, I
the
mean-
I
noise.
mean, they might be really far back though, you know, like
I wouldn't
But I
assume the
would if
stables are
in-
right
if,
up against
like-
the house or something.
Well, you could.
if they had said there were stables and Sabina had not gone outside, let's say, and they're like, oh, there's stables, and you're like, okay, that makes sense then. But if you had gone outside, you don't see anything, and then you're hearing noises above you, I don't think you would think, oh yeah, the stables in the far distance would definitely be making
Right.
noises that sound above me in the house.
That's what I'm saying.
And actually, you know, I do want to clarify. I don't remember if they said their brother died of cancer or something else, but their brother had died in that house.
Got it.
A brother had died, or you know, somebody like a brother. I
And
don't,
it was recent.
I don't remember it was a father. It was. I remember it sticking out to me as being a brother. Recent enough, like it wasn't 6 months or a year. Like it wasn't like something that happened a long, long time ago. And they did look at me weird, and they're like, "Why do you ask?" And I was like, "Oh, no reason." And I was like,
That was gonna be my question to you, Sabina. I was like, why? Why would you ask? Hey, is there just someone die in this in this place?
It's like, you know, this is a really weird question, but did somebody recently die? Or did somebody die in this house recently? And they were like, yeah, our brother passed away. And I was like, okay. I was like,
Awkward.
I'm getting the hell out of here. You know, like,
But you know what? They probably felt a presence in that house as well. There's no way they didn't.
I don't know.
I mean, clearly they were living there, so they probably didn't feel anything. They probably
But you
were
know
so
how
used
people
to it.
live in a house and they live there
Like Coco.
and it's haunted.
Yeah, just like Coco.
Well,
But
Well, I guess. Does anyone else have any last
I
remaining
don't.
questions?
I hope you guys get spooked for
That was
tomorrow.
only.
I know I was spooked.
I know.
I know,
it's
I'm
sent
still
some
spooked.
Chills down my
Every time-
spine.
it's funny because like I've heard the story maybe
10,
15,000 times at this point, but like, but like every time it's like, ooh, it's kind of weird. So it's those you
Have
are.
you heard me tell it 10, 15 times? Because I try to avoid telling.
No, I think
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
you
usually
only once
Amna.
say it.
Yeah, once or twice from you. It's like, yeah, it's usually Amina that kind of says it. Amina's always the.
Well, I remember Sabina telling it my first time I ever heard it. I was at a birthday party, and you told the story to my friends. And those friends, I'm barely friends. Though that was like a 6th grade birthday party, and to this day, I know those girls know that story, and it didn't leave them.
We
And
should hunt those people down and ask them about theirs.
Well, we should hunt Jackie
Well, no,
down.
one of my
and
friends still
have her-
remembers that story. Like, yeah, I know the babysitting story. And it wasn't because I told it. They know it because you told it.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they were like,
that's probably the last time, because you
No,
guys
you
asked
don't
me to
really
I tell it, but that's
actually
probably the
talk
last
about
time I
that.
told it. No, because I sound crazy, but I know what happened to me. That's I sound. It's one of those things. It's like you know what you know what you know. Like I know what I went through that night, and I know it sounds crazy, but it happened to me.
All I want to hear now is Jackie's experience. But
One time I tried to talk to her about it, and she's like, "I can't talk about that night," and she just shut me.
But like, why though? But why? That's my question.
Because
is what's
she's
stopping her from saying
she's
it?
the passenger in the story. She's the passenger where the car's coming to her. She's the passenger where the person can barely hold the steering wheel. She's the passenger. She's the person across the table where you're staring at somebody with the whites of their eyes showing. It's very scary for her, and
You can't explain it. Like, for you went through it, so,
I didn't. If I saw her going through it, I would probably be 50 times more scared.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have ran and left my friend.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye.
She put you in your bed or on the couch. Like, she really, or helped you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we were in our house all alone. I mean, that's why I was like, you need to go home. Just because, and to be honest with you, at the time, I felt like I couldn't express that I felt something wrong, but I felt enough to protect her to say, go home.
You felt like something bad. You didn't want her around for it.
I just didn't want her to see me like that. I just wanted to fall asleep and be left alone. I just didn't want her seeing me like that. I just knew enough to say, please go home. Not, please stay with me, I'm scared, but please go home and leave. Like, it was very much insistent that she leave me.
That's a very odd reaction to have, honestly.
Right? If you're that sick and you're scared, you would say, stay with me, right? But I didn't.
Why would you say go?
Yeah, at the time I was like, just call your mom and leave.
Just leave. No.
She's
What
like,
did your? What did
I'm like, no, you have to go. I'm fine. I feel fine. Just leave, please.
So were you generally fine as soon as she left? Like,
No,
I mean,
no,
like when your parents came back, like, oh, you passed out. So you woke up the next morning and you were just.
I don't know if it was the next morning or still the night when my parents got home, but when I woke up, I felt better.
And you told dad and mom, but mom, or dad, and dad obviously did not believe you.
No, he thought I was crazy, and then went and looked at the car, and there was nothing really wrong with the car, so he was like, okay, fine, go to bed.
Well,
very supportive family.
Mom, I feel like, believed the story, though.
Mom believes in something. That's the difference.
That's the thing, is like, mom does believe in this stuff, whereas dad didn't. When even though apparently, as Sabina said earlier, he was witness, actually part of what at the time they were saying was an exorcism on somebody. He didn't even believe the person was possessed.
No, mom's seen it too, and she believed it completely. And that wasn't a girl, because they say a lot of this mass hysteria stuff affects women only, young girls.
Right.
But her story is about a boy. So it's can't just call it crazy girls, like it was a guy, it was a young boy, actually, a 10-year-old boy. So it's
Now,
But like I hear these stories and you hear about it with other people. When something happens to you, you're just like, okay, it was a really bad moment in my life and I can't explain why and how everything happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Zan, do you still want to go through a moment, like through an
You're nuts.
experience? Really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because it's
That's
like,
why it won't
No,
happen to you, though.
Zen, you don't even have to explain yourself. I understand because, like, we all want to believe it. So
I want to believe it, and if
Right.
it's like I believe Sabina, I'm not saying that like everything that Sabina said is false. Like I completely believe every single, every single thing part of that story. But it's like, if I haven't seen, if there's always been that case where it's like, oh yeah, here's documented evidence of a ghost, and it's always some sort of grainy photo. It's like it's never the truth. I want to see the truth. I want to see it happen in front of me, you know. But I don't know. Maybe it's like a weird.
no,
Like,
no, no.
No,
That's
I
normal.
get it. Because then if you can, for me, if you can experience something like that, then, basically there's a God because there's there's people
Exactly.
and there's ghosts. And if there's God, then there's, all this stuff people tell you to do, heaven, hell, like, you can affirm that, the hereafter, like you can affirm all these things. But my experience doesn't affirm those things,
What
right? Like it
happened?
leaves you on the cusp of like, it's frustrating. What happened to me? Why did it happen to me? Like it didn't see any ghosts. Like so it was just a series of really strange events that leave me always thinking like, was that a sign? What did I go
Stranger
crazy?
things.
Did
Do you believe that kind of like push you to kind of close yourself off to certain things, to certain
Yeah.
ideas, or just certain?
I can't handle it. I just can't handle it anymore because it gets me extremely scared. Not to a point where when you watch a horror movie, it's like a good scared, you're scared, and then you go to bed. Like no, not like a good scared. Like I won't sleep all night. I'll keep all the lights on. Like like a traumatizing scare. So I'm like, I don't like doing that anymore because I have 2 little kids and I can't be the one that's scared.
Right.
Well, everybody on that note, follow us on Instagram.
Rate and review us on iTunes and Google Play.
Please review. Please review.
leave a 5-star review, please.
Especially for this episode.
This will help us a lot, especially this episode. Probably one of my favorites.
I'm gonna write a screenplay with
big
my
Eugene.
dramatic moments in it, so that it will.
We saw Lorraine Warren. Blah blah blah.
She told you were sensitive.
Oh, that was Amna's.
No, I
Dramatic
never
I
saw
thought you
story.
did meet Lorraine Warren once, though. Didn't you meet her once?
I've met Lorraine Warren, but she never told me it was a sensitive. She didn't walk up to me and say, "My child, you're a sensitive." Somebody told Gashif when they had done a reading or something like that you have a sister who's a sensitive. Somebody told my brother that.
Nope. It's definitely not me or Sumra. Let's be honest here.
Nope.
Your sister's sensitive and crazy.
Nope.
Not crazy. I don't think you're crazy. I think that you're in tune to a certain thing, to a certain.
I don't. I believe it. That's
She's
why.
like, nope,
Like, nope.
nope.
I don't.
But it's also like I don't think it's that far fetched to believe someone is, sensitive to certain feelings and energies that I'm not attuned to because
Right.
I'm daft.
She was brushing their teeth.
I'm dead.
Dan is not brushing his teeth. He's probably like,
What?
She was brushing their teeth.
Brushing my teeth?
It sounds like someone's brushing their hands together.
It's probably
No,
gossip.
I'm not doing
No,
anything.
I'm not doing anything. I'm legit
Yeah.
listening to you guys. That's all.
Didn't it sound like somebody was brushing their teeth?
No, it did. It's probably
There you
Zan.
go.
Right.
I really didn't. I
oh,
wasn't
what
doing
is that
anything.
noise, though? The
I'm just sitting
scratching
here.
Noise. It's not me.
I didn't hear it though.
I'm hearing it
I
right
didn't hear the
now.
We're
noise.
just hyper aware right now of all these noises.
Okay,
Yeah,
listen,
don't-
everybody, just follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Happy
Thanks,
Halloween.
Sabina, for the story.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Spooky.
Stop recording. Shut it off.
Okay.